Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. What I want to talk about is the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, and the significance. Well, really more about the impact that each one has. Each of those astrological proponents has relative to the other. So I saw there was a recent, well, at least a fairly recent video. I saw it recently, and what it was basically stating was that the ascendant and moon have a more, as far as the impact it exerts on the chart is stronger, than the sun. And the reasoning in the video was stated, okay, because the sun, even though it's a main proponent, one of the three main proponents in an astrological chart, is that the sun, what it is, it takes about 30 days on average for the sun to transition from one sign to another. And the person in the video stated, well, for every those 30 days, during that time, not everybody's going to be acting like that, you know, that particular sun sign, or at least be the same in terms of the expression of that sun sign, as far as the qualities go, the characteristics of the sign, because you would have to say then for everybody born in that 30-day period, they're going to be the same. Well, that we know they wouldn't be the same anyway, because the chart is so complex with everybody's got different aspects and ascendants and house placements. It's like an intricate piece of machinery with many different components. But I did understand what the person was saying and the perception on that. But the thing is, there's actually could be a good point with this, because the person also stated is what it is with the moon, is that the moon does change signs much quicker than the sun. Even though you have a 1 in 12, for example, you have a 1 in 12 probability to have your sun in the zodiac sign Cancer, you would still have a 1 in 12 probability to have your moon in the zodiac sign Cancer. But it's that fluctuation, the change is much faster with the moon. So the person, I believe, has theorized is that because of that, the moon can have a more greater impact on compared to the sun, at least on average. Now, I mean, I've had other people, I've heard a number of other people think that the moon was stronger than the sun in its influence. Now, what I would basically say, and as far as what I think and my opinion on what the person stated in the video, is the fact that I actually felt for the most part it could be true, but I would still put a little bit more significance and emphasis on the sun sign. And the person in the video did, the person had stated that the sun was really, just, mainly about life direction and not really impactful in terms of the characteristics or traits of the person. I mean, we know that the ascendant, is going to be stronger in terms of the outer demeanor, the projection of self, what is more naturally expressed. And so, the ascendant in many cases is going to be a different sign than the sun sign. So naturally, the ascendant would. But I think where you have division, a lot of people debate in terms of it's the sun versus the moon. Now, if it's between one or another, the moon may actually be a little bit stronger than the sun on average. But what I believe is I basically, for the most part, had agreed with what the person had stated in the video, except I would still put a little bit more emphasis on the sun compared to the moon. And it's also important too when you're contrasting the sun versus the moon in the natal chart in terms of which one would have more impact. A lot of it can be predicated on the house positions of these planets. Like in my case, many of you may know my sun is in Cancer and my moon is in Gemini. Now, my moon is in the first house, which is an angular house. It's in the first house of self. Now, and then my sun, being in Cancer, was just in the, it conjuncts the third house cusp. It's a, which is really like it being in the third house, a cadet house, which could weaken the energy if you're a believer in that. So so for me, I may actually resonate a little bit more, at least with my moon in Gemini compared to my sun in the zodiac sign Cancer. So those are some things to look at it and ponder in terms of the significance of the sun versus the moon. I mean, naturally, if you have the sun or moon, say it's unaspected or it's a singleton planet, it may stand out more. Planets that are in the dignity, exaltation, detriment, or fall may also have more, could have more significance and impact on the chart. The thing is, I've talked about this in other videos, and I'll state it in this one, that you take the moon in Gemini, though the moon in Gemini, naturally, it's not in its dignity or exaltation or detriment or fall. It seems to me, and a number of other people will concur, that it has a very strong impact on the person, on the chart, more so than maybe even all the other moon signs on average, for a lot of varying reasons. And I did some videos regarding this as to why I think it is, and you can find it on my other YouTube astrology channel. But really, these are some things to look at when you're looking at the sun versus the moon. But I felt like that video was, it had some, that I was talking about, the beginning part of this video, is that, it was, at least fairly profound, video. I think there's more people that may concur with that, but just don't really come out and say it, because, the sun and the moon are basically seen as about a 50-50 split on average in terms of, the impact on the horoscope. The moon may, and again, I do believe the moon may be a little bit stronger than the sun on average in terms of the characteristics of the person. And if that is the case, it could be attributed to the fact that the moon is closer to the earth than the sun is. And the interesting thing, when you have the sun versus the moon, you have the sun is like somewhere like 450, 475 times the distance from the earth compared to the moon. But if I'm not mistaken, it's that much times bigger than the moon. So by our perception, how we see this on earth, the sun and the moon seem to be basically or essentially the same size. So I think, it's just something about that. It's hard to just, put that as happenstance, just as a, eerie coincidence. Like, there's a reason for that. The sun can very well illuminate, the moon's energies in a horoscope. It could shine the light on that moon too, and a lot, really, and maybe it plays a role as why the moon can stand out a little bit more, be more prominent in a chart than even a lot of astrologers may actually believe. So really, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to get with you guys and gals on my thoughts regarding the sun, moon, and ascendant in the natal chart. And again, this is Edwin Learnard, and until next time, stay well.